In a nation built on freedom, why are families forced to comply? They promised vaccines would protect your children. Instead, they created a system that protects profits. Every year, the schedule grows longer, the pressure grows stronger, the questions grow louder. But the answers? They're buried in studies you'll never see. Doctors who speak truth are silenced. Parents who ask questions are shamed. Children who react are ignored. The back-to-school season has become a battlefield where your parental authority is the casualty. What should we really believe about vaccines, and who gets to decide? Welcome to the Great Vax Debate, Back-to-School Edition, the uncensored confrontation between vaccine orthodoxy and parental rights. This debate features the rebels who refuse to stay quiet. Kimberly Fletcher, the mother of 8 who built a 500,000-strong army of mothers refusing to surrender their children to state control. Dr. Paul Thomas, the pediatrician who dared to study what they said was impossible, real-world outcomes comparing vaxxed versus unvaxxed children from his own practice. Dr. Simone Gold, the physician who chose truth over medical board approval and became the voice of a movement. Together, they lay out what it takes to protect your child in a system designed to override your voice. What happens next won't be broadcast in a press conference. It won't be found in pediatricians' brochures. And it won't come from anyone who profits off your silence. This is where permission ends and protection begins. Because your child doesn't need compliance. Your child needs you. GoldCare, built for you, powered by freedom, trusted by thousands.
Welcome to GoldCare Medical Townhall, and thank you so much for being here. I'm Drew Kucherek, Vice President of Business Development here at GoldCare. Joining us tonight is Dr. Paul Thomas, a board-certified pediatrician and vaccine researcher with 30 years' experience dedicating his career to evidence-based pediatric care. He is the author of Vax Facts, a data-driven guide to comparing vaxxed versus unvaxxed children. Also with us is Kimberly Fletcher, founder and president of Moms for America, a nationwide movement of over 500,000 mothers defending parental rights, faith, and pro-family values. Our moderator tonight is Dr. Simone Gold, founder and CEO of GoldCare Health and Wellness. This evening, we'll be discussing the Great Vax Debate, Back to School Edition. Parents were told vaccines are safe and effective, but now millions face chronic illness and unexplained symptoms. Are these shots really protecting our kids or just following an agenda? Why is no one speaking about what synthetic spike proteins are developing in children's bodies? And what else is in all of these vaccines? You'll learn the difference between being informed versus being indoctrinated and how schools become ground zero for vaccine mandates. And your parental rights are the battle. Is it all for science or money? You'll learn about real pediatric data compared vaxxed versus unvaxxed kids and why the CDC won't run these studies, plus practical tips for exemptions and protecting your child's health this school year. Becoming a GoldCare member isn't just about doctor visits, it's about joining a completely different healthcare ecosystem based on truth, transparency, and total access. As a member, you get things like real doctors who actually listen, no corporate talking points, no gatekeeping. You'll get Wellness U, our exclusive on-demand education portal that puts you in control of your own health journey. It's like the Netflix of MAHA. You'll have access to GoldCare Med Packs, the simple meds you need delivered right to your door. And you'll be a part of a nationwide community informed, faith-aligned members taking back their health and their sovereignty. Now, this is the critical part. There's a link you can click right there in the title of tonight's live stream, goldcare.com/moms. If you click and join today with a yearly subscription, GoldCare will gift you a copy of Dr. Thomas' must-read book, Vax Facts. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our moderator, Dr. Simone Gold.
Hi, everybody. It is so great to see my good friends, Kimberly Fletcher, and my newer friend, Dr. Paul Thomas. And I've been very excited about tonight because one of the questions I've gotten asked the most in the last few years is, once people stopped thinking about COVID 24/7, they just started asking the logical question, which is, well, what about all the other shots and all the other vaccines? And we were just talking before we went live, and I said, everything was such a lie about COVID that it caused many awake doctors to wonder what else we didn't know, what else was being hidden from us. And because of that, I started looking into all the other shots, partly because people were asking me, partly because I was just so discouraged by all the other lies that I had seen directly firsthand. Just want to share a random piece of data. My specialty is emergency medicine. And I would see patients all the time when they're really sick. And of course, I had admitted to the hospital lots of influenza patients. And I don't even recall any influenza patients I admitted who didn't have the influenza shot. So over my career, I knew that the influenza shot didn't work. I just didn't really think about it too much. And I was required to take the influenza shot myself every year as an ER doctor. And I just didn't think it was important enough to put up a fuss. I never actually did any research. I was sort of incurious about it. But I didn't like the abridgment of my freedoms. I didn't like that just because I was a doctor, I didn't have a choice about taking something, right, to protect my livelihood. But then COVID blew it all wide open. And I became much more curious about what's in these shots. And of course, the constitutional right to not take shots. And then the big, huge problem of the schools, like the school schedule. Like if you go to school, public school or even parochial school, you have to comply with certain rules, especially, depending on different states, they're more draconian. So to go back to the beginning, what about these shots, which is why I wanted to pair Moms for America with Dr. Paul Thomas, who I have found to be the best resource on this subject. So we're just going to start with Kimberly. I've known Kimberly a lot of years. She's fierce, like amazing. And Kimberly, you represent a lot of moms and a lot of moms across the nation, and really now it's going to be all across the world. We turn to you for information. So, and I know sometimes you ask me questions, so now we're going to ask Dr. Thomas questions. But how big a problem do you think this is, really for your group, your constituents, public school kids, public schools, children in general? How big a problem is this?
It is a very big problem. I have it very close to home because one of my daughters-in-law is convinced that the medical industry is right and the scare flicks are true. And she's vaccinated all of her kids. And when the COVID shot came out, she vaccinated everybody and got at least one of the boosters. And she's now had 2 miscarriages and she's not able to have, I'm hoping that she will be able to have children. But it's those kinds of things that moms have started to go, wait a second, what's going on? And it did lead them to the other shots. And the fact that children are now suffering from ailments that seem to be unheard of or very minimal. I mean, autism is like crazy everywhere now, and kids are on the spectrum at various different levels. And I think that when you have a concoction that you've created, mass produced for the purpose of making money, and then use children as your guinea pigs for your profit margins, moms are starting to see that this is a problem. And then you have the schools that are coming in and mandating that you take the shots to be able to go to school. It's another reason why homeschooling is on the rise. So people are looking for freedom. Moms are looking for freedom. But I'm most concerned if they have an idea of what's going on, they want to know what they can do about it and what's their power. And I can help them with that. But I'm most concerned about people like my daughter-in-law, and one of my daughters who have bought into these lies and bought into this idea that this is just what you do. And even when I was a young mom, then there were way less shots back then, but it's just what you did. You took your babies to the well baby checkup for, 18 months. And then when they got their shots at 18 months, you never saw the doctor again till the next time you went in to get shots. And I didn't really think about this until I started to become a grandmother and realized how many shots they have now and how everything seems to be cycling around. These well baby checks are really about shot checks. That's really what they've turned into. And why do you need a well baby check if your baby's not sick? You go to the doctor when your baby's sick, not when your baby's well. And so there are tons of moms, especially since COVID, that have started to ask a lot of questions. And that's why I'm so thrilled to be able to have Dr. Thomas on so that he can answer some of these questions. And hopefully moms will have a better understanding of what actually is happening, because then you'll have a better idea of what you can do about it.
Thank you for giving us like the mom's perspective and the grandmom's perspective. You have a lot of kids and a lot of grandkids. God bless. That's amazing. I have 2 sons, and it was telling that during the whole COVID pandemic, whatever, people would call me anti-vax because it was so confusing to me, because not only did I take the shots I was required to for my job, so did my kids. I had my kids take all the shots as well. And that was a clue to me, right? The venom that came at me calling me anti-vax was a clue. And that's just, I want to share with everybody in the audience, like that's a clue, like the reaction is so outsized. I mean, if you say you want to do something for yourself, why are people so invested in what you do? And of course, moms are noticing all those well baby visits are shot checks, right? What would our grandmothers say about if you told your grandmother, great grandmother, I was going to go to the doctor every few months and the child's well, she'd look at you like you've lost your mind. So I'm so happy to have with us tonight, Dr. Thomas, because I had the pleasure of meeting him pretty recently, and he is really an expert on this. I know some things, he knows a lot. There's too much to talk about tonight. There's additives, there's autism mentioned, there's a lot of things, but we're just going to talk about a few of those things tonight. And so Dr. Thomas, your background is so interesting because you were a pediatrician you're still a pediatrician. You're a pediatrician for many, many years. And so you were in position to observe with your own eyes the effects of the shots. And that just gave you a window that other doctors and moms don't have. So I'm just going to give you the floor to start explaining like what you started to see when, like how it's different now than the past, all that stuff.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Gold. And thank you, Kimberly. What a great introduction to what we're talking about here. I am retired. I was board certified for 30 years, but when I basically had my license taken away from me for publishing an important study comparing vaccinated to unvaccinated kids, at that point, I lost my license, my board certification, all of that. But let me tell you what woke me up. I was waking up in the early 2000s, and I was doing a deep dive because I was seeing kids weren't doing well. When I was growing up, I saw zero autism. In fact, in medical school, I didn't see any autism. I'm that old. That was in the early 80s. And very little ADD, ADHD, and almost none of the developmental delays we see today. Certainly not as many allergies and autoimmune conditions. It's like, what was this explosion of neurodevelopmental problems, autism, asthma, type 1 diabetes in kids that was like unheard of? And then in my own practice in 2004, 5, 6, and 7, one of my own patients went from normal 1-year-old or 18-month-old with eye contact, verbal communication to severe nonverbal autism. You see it once, you go, oh, that's what they're talking about. You see it twice, you go, coincidence? 4 times in 4 years? I was like, I'm done. Went to my partners, said I can't do business as usual. I was already aware of some of the risks of the vaccines. And basically they showed me the door, said it was unethical not to follow the CDC schedule, which that is still the stance of probably 99% of pediatricians. I have to the timing of this show is amazing because just yesterday, the American Academy of Pediatrics, that represents, I think it's 67,000 pediatricians, just came up with a policy statement, medical versus non-medical immunization exemptions and school avoidance. And they basically are saying no exemptions other than medical, which nobody will give you a medical exemption. So therefore they want to get rid of all exemptions. Every child will have to get every single vaccine on the schedule. That is insanity because where there's risk, there must be choice. I think you've got a lot of parents watching, and parents, what are we charged with? It is our job to nurture and protect. And when you don't protect your kids against the harm, you can't take these shots and the ingredients that are in these shots out of their bodies. And the sheer number of them is horrendous. So we have a huge problem on our hands.
I want to share with everybody. So again, I was board certified in emergency medicine for a long time, had an unblemished career, totally pristine reputation, all that. And then during COVID, I became very targeted. So I know exactly what Dr. Thomas is talking about. The state medical board came after me. My professional board came after me. I decided not to renew my professional board. That was voluntary. But the state is the one that determines if you can practice medicine, and that's actually your livelihood. So you actually got hurt more than I did, Dr. Thomas. But the system is set up like that. If anybody listening wants to understand why it is that doctors didn't put their patients first, and specifically why certain groups of physicians were much worse than other groups of physicians, it had to do with the pressure from the state and then also their licensing boards and their specialty boards. So pediatricians, I don't know if I ever said this to you, Dr. Thomas, pediatricians were the absolute worst during COVID. It's very interesting because when I started Frontline Doctors, I had no preconceived notions about which doctors would flock to me and which wouldn't. It turned out the doctors that came in bigger numbers were doctors who had some degree of financial independence in their work, right? So it was orthopedists, right, and it was sometimes dermatologists or ophthalmologists. But still, there were primary doctors, there were family doctors, there were internists, not as many as like the specialists who could earn on their own. There were virtually zero pediatricians. I'm talking, there were like 3 pediatricians across the nation that came to us. It was so tiny. So really, since 2020, I've told people to avoid pediatricians. I mean, there's an occasional good one. You're meeting one tonight. There's another doctor out, and I know a few, but very, very few. And I really tell people, before we form GoldCare, you should look for a family practitioner doctor, not because you have a better shot. And the other thing with this policy statement that you're referencing, the American Academy of Pediatrics is the largest subspecialty, like credentialing organization for pediatricians. I'm telling you, moms and dads and grandmoms who are listening, you need to check if your doctor holds themselves out as a member of AAP. And if they do, you need to run really hard, really fast. Kimberly, your daughter and daughter will run the other direction. Not only are they saying that you shouldn't have the freedom to do religious things that are within your, your heart and your soul, they're the ones who advocate for the medical mutilation of children's bodies. I mean, the list is endless. So if your doctor, that's a clue that you heard right here on GoldCare Town Hall, if your doctor is certified by AAP, run, absolutely run. So what we try to do here is we try to inform people, because we still have enough freedom in America that we can do the actions that we want to do. It can be unpleasant. You can, face peer pressure or pressure from family members, but it's not actually illegal yet. So Kimberly, when you hear Dr. Thomas say, like, he turned his whole career really upside down to be able to speak the truth. What do you say to parents who are like, oh, it's really difficult, or I don't want to homeschool, or what do I do? I mean, here's an example of a person who's turned their life upside down. I want you to, you're a fierce woman, like, to encourage people, they have to look out for their kids.
They have the power. We have a case against the PrEP Act, which is medical. It's immunity. It's blanket immunity for all of these entities. And when this case is the most advanced case, and when it goes through its full course, it's going to unravel a lot of this, because right now they're completely protected. Everything is about the medical industry that's attached to the pharmaceutical industry. This is all about making money. It's not about medical care. It's not about taking care of kids. It's literally about making money. And being someone who was in the military, and my children received military care, we were very blessed on a couple of occasions. If you live 20 miles outside of a military installation, you can go to Doctors on the Economy. This was the first time that I experienced a private practice doctor. I was like, this is amazing. Why doesn't everybody do this? Because we'd had, military medical all that time, which is more like an HMO. But when we moved to Virginia, they put us in this, they gave us different options of where you can go that was in the TRICARE system. And so we went to this one office, and there were like 20 doctors in this office, and you had one doctor assigned to you, but you never knew who you were going to see. And that was the first time that, it was even worse than the military medical, about the idea of it seemed very clinical and not like care. I love that you call it GoldCare, because you care, and it just seemed like very uncaring. And so I started to look for other options, and I was blessed to find another private practice pediatrician in Fredericksburg, and that's where we went for 3 years. And the experience that I had going to these different medical facilities and practices, I could see how things were changing. And when my kids were younger, even in the practices where doctors shared, it was a different environment than by the time the 2000s. Well, when you started waking up, Dr. Thomas, is when I started seeing it. I had an experience when we were in the military, because if you refused a shot, they kind of make you feel like you're doing something wrong. They said, well, you're going to have to sign this paper saying you refused it. I'm like, fine. What the heck? So parents need to know you have that authority, and there are ways that you can speak. So I just want to give this one example so that they can understand. When you're bullied and intimidated and feeling like you're doing something wrong, you're probably right. You're not the one who's wrong. So my son Jordan, he was 9 years old and went in because he was going to, not because he needed a well child checkup, but because he was going to go to scout camp and you had to have a physical to go to scout camp. So I took him in and they looked at the schedule and they said, hey, he's missing some of his shots. And I said, well, what shots is he missing? And they said, he's missing the head. And I said, what's that? And she's like, well, it's one of the shots on the schedule. I'm like, okay, do you have information on this shot? And so she handed me a pamphlet and I went out and I read it and I'm like, what? So I went in and I said, okay, so you're telling me that this is a shot to protect my child against venereal disease in case he has sex. And she's like, well, that's not the only way that you get the disease. And I'm like, okay, how else? Well, if you're in the medical industry and you know, you the blood contact, you could get it that way. I'm like, okay. So let's assume that my son, who has no interest in going into the medical field whatsoever, decides later that he wants to do that. Can he get the shot then if he decides to? Or is it something that has to happen now? He goes, oh no, he can take it anytime. Then why would I poison my child at 9 years old because he might have sex sometime and get a venereal disease? I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah, so Kimberly, honestly, your testimony was actually really important because it just empowers, you know, the average ordinary mom or dad out there. By the way, I'm old enough, I guess, that I took hepatitis when I was in my residency, and they told, right, which made sense. I mean, and then all of a sudden they put it on the childhood schedule. It's crazy. So, but she also raises the issue of money. So we're going to turn back to Drew in a moment, but then I'm excited to ask Dr. Thomas a little bit about the money, because actually, Dr. Thomas, you educated me a lot on the depth of the money. Like, I knew some of it, I didn't know all of it. Drew.
Thank you, Dr. Gold. This is such a great and powerful conversation, and it's so important for more parents, especially moms, to hear. So please retweet this live stream. Don't forget, we also have a really great offer for you tonight. If you go and click the link right in the title of tonight's live stream, goldcare.com/moms. If you click that and join with a yearly subscription, which comes out to less than $10 a month, GoldCare, we will gift you a copy of Dr. Thomas' must-read book, Vax Facts. So please come and join us, and you'll love the book that Dr. Thomas wrote. Back to you, Dr. Gold.
Thank you. Yes. I
just want to interject here that while getting Dr. Thomas's book is a powerful asset, and I encourage everybody to sign up to do it, I encourage you even more to sign up because you have opportunities like this to be educated on things that matter to you. If you want to go someplace where you're going to get the truth about what's happening in the medical system so that you can make good decisions for your family, I highly encourage you to join GoldCare. I just want to put that out there.
Actually, Kimberly, everyone at GoldCare thanks you and appreciates it. Everyone who gets familiar with us really appreciates what we're doing. I mean, this is very genuine. Like, I called you and I said, I want to do a presentation for Moms for America. And what are you more interested in than the shots for the kids? So you are completely correct. We give you all this unbiased information, and we give you access to amazing doctors who are unbiased and have read the science and have no reason to tell you something true or not true. So thank you so much for that. We work really hard to deliver you an amazing product for like such a low price. The price is going to go up soon, by the way, because it's too low. But Dr. Thomas, you were, you were in the medical field, practicing for a long time, and I knew some of it. Like, I think a lot of the people watching do know that there's a kind of a kickback from the, giving the shots to the doctor, right? So a lot of us knew that. But even when I did that, I added up the math. It seemed kind of like 50% of the doctor's income. I mean, just roughly, right? But in talking with you, no. Like, it's so much worse than we think. So just share with us.
So, and pediatricians will deny this because they just don't want to look. So they just let the managers handle it. But here's the thing. I wrote an article on this because I actually did a study. I took every super bill for 1 month in my office. And on the super bill, on the back of it, I had the vaccine refusal form because I knew they were going to come after me. I was already speaking out, and it was the Academy of Pediatrics form, but I modified it because it had this ridiculous statement that you were knowingly putting your child and others in harm's way by refusing the vaccine. So I changed that, and I just made that one. There is risk for and against vaccines, worded a little different. But I took all the super bills and all the vaccines that were recommended by the CDC that child was missing, and my office ran it by insurance company for exact loss of just the administration fee. Now, we get paid 3 or 4 different ways for vaccines. The first way is you buy it wholesale and you sell it retail. I mean, that's normal business. It's not a huge profit markup. Let's say it's $5 per shot. Then the next way is this admin fee. It's a thank you for giving the vaccine, and it's supposed to compensate pediatricians for all the work they do to informed consent, which now, of course, is not going to happen according to the AP at all. What was happening before is you were given a VIS, vaccine information sheet. The CDC made a one-page scare tactic kind of form, right? All the bad things that can happen, and then they say, well, the risk of harm is 1 in a million. Let me tell you, you can go to the package insert for any vaccine on the market, and the risk of serious adverse events is generally at least 1 in 20. Think about that. Serious adverse events is seizures, anaphylaxis, death, hospitalization. 1 in 20. You're never told that. Would you take a shot if you knew there was a 1 in 20 chance your kid could possibly die or have any of those other horrible things happen? No, of course you wouldn't. Then there's
Dr. Thomas, just so you know, I put up the slide for just a couple of seconds. These are the side effects, the CDC childhood vaccine recommendations and safety testing, how that there's not,
Thank you. It's really important for parents to understand that not a single vaccine on the childhood schedule has a proper saline placebo. They just use older vaccines or all the contents of the vaccine minus the antigen. They never look at all health outcomes. Follow-up is sometimes days. The Hep B vaccine was 3 to 5 days follow-up. That's it. And if they're not looking for all health outcomes, they're missing everything. When there's deaths, they just call it coincidence. So they write off all the things they don't want to see. And understand the entire schedule itself has never been tested for safety. So they've talked about VAERS. Well, we have VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. Most doctors don't know about it. They're not going to report. And if you don't realize that autism, that ADD, ADHD, developmental delays, asthma, all these things, if you don't realize those are related to vaccines, highly related, you won't report them. So it's all being missed.
I just want to say, so did I not miss like how much of the money though came from, I think, was I distracted? I was looking at the slide.
No, I didn't quite finish. I was looking at the slide too.
Because it's so interesting.
It's for my practice at the time I did this study and published it, we were billing out gross billing of just under 3 million. We were losing over $1 million just on the one piece, the admin fee. I'm not talking about the markup. I'm not talking about the losses for that or the incentives you're given and disincentives. As pediatricians, and you've seen this, I'm sure, even in your field, Dr. Gold, quality measures. So they rolled out these quality measures. And for pediatrics, one of the quality measures is how well you vaccinate. So if your 2-year-old is fully vaccinated, everything the CDC wants them to get, then you get this bonus. And sometimes they're huge. There's also a disincentive. If you are a poor quality doctor, which the vaccines are such a huge component of quality measures, I was top in everything. There were like 5 metrics, but the worst in vaccination because I had 1% who got fully vaccinated by age 2. I mean, you're just not going to get that Hep B as an infant, or as Kim was pointing out. It's ridiculous. So it was over $1 million that my practice lost that year for being ethical, honoring informed consent, and allowing parents not to vaccinate if they didn't want to. So it's no wonder that pediatricians sort of want to turn a blind eye to vaccine side effects and to the problems with vaccines, because to acknowledge it is to say, I'm causing harm. And to acknowledge it means you've got to let parents not do it. And they're kicking people out of their practices who won't follow the CDC schedule. Most offices are now doing that. I've been asked, my own mom would ask me, well, Paul, how can you be right and all the other doctors are wrong? Dr. Gold, I'm sure you've heard the same thing when you came out and spoke out. I mean, you're on the steps of the Capitol with a handful of doctors and everybody else thinks you're crazy, right? How can so few people be right? Well, it's pretty simple. In my case, all the parents who had vaccine injured kids get kicked out because they don't want to immunize their next kid. They come to my office and I hear the story over and over. There was a period of a couple years where every single day, certainly 4 or 5 times a week, I had a new family joining my practice with a story that was just the same almost every time. They vaccinated their first kid within a few days or sometimes months. they lost their child to severe nonverbal autism. Those were just the severe cases, and they're bawling their eyes out, telling me this story, and then they got kicked out because they were being forced to vaccinate their next child. And they're going, no, we saw the harm once, we're not doing it again. So I got to see that, but I also got to see how healthy unvaccinated kids were. And that's the shocker. So in my practice, by the time I retired, I probably had over 1,000 unvaxxed. In the study that I published that compared the unvaxxed to the variably vaccinated, I had 561 unvaccinated kids. And they had 4 times less autism, less allergies, autoimmunity, all the neurodevelopmental issues, all the allergy issues, asthma, etc. But they also had less infections of all types. Wait a minute. Think about this. The unvaccinated had less infections, less ear infections, less sinus infections, less lung infections, less skin infections, less GI infections, all infections combined, reduced by about 400%, 4 times less. That shatters this narrative that you've got to get your kid vaccinated to protect everybody else. Who gets the other people sick? Is it well unvaccinated kids or sick vaccinated kids? It's sick people who get other people sick. And in the practices that I had experienced before where we were vaccinating all the time, and then in my own practice where I had some who were and some who weren't, I got to see that difference. Other doctors don't get to see that. If you won't follow our rules, out you go. So they never see how healthy unvaccinated kids are.
So, you know what's interesting? There's so many things about this that are fascinating. So as a doctor, one of the things that has offended me is the lack of curiosity and the fact that the science actually makes sense. It's not as though people are saying something that doesn't make sense. Whenever you watch a television commercial and you know, pharma ads are everywhere, that's the main thing I really want. I mean, other than the PrEP Act and the removing the liability shield, I really want to get rid of the ads on TV because every other ad is a pharmaceutical ad. But when you hear these ads, right? Listen up, people. You're always hearing at the end, but let your doctor know if you've taken a vaccine, right? They're telling you that the vaccines affect your immune system. That's what they're telling you. They're telling you that. They're calling it, you let your doctor know if you've had a vaccine. But that's because we doctors know it can affect your immune system. So why are we so surprised that kids are having immune dysfunction? I served as camp doctor for a summer when one of my sons was 10 or 12 years old. I was floored at the amount of asthma, ADD, and psychiatric meds. 1/3 of the kids, this was a normal camp. 1/3 of the kids were on meds. I'm shocked because I'm of the age when this just didn't, I didn't know any autistic kids, but I'm not even sure I even know a kid with asthma. I mean, there was, I have to assume maybe there was an occasional asthma, but maybe one. Anyway, 1/3 of the kids at this normal summer camp had all these problems. So this lack of curiosity on the part of doctors is like where all this illness is coming from is very, very suspicious. The fact that pediatricians can't keep their doors open unless they comply with the vaccine schedules, very, very suspicious. I'd like to get my advice from someone who isn't getting paid by someone to say a particular verdict, right?
Right.
It's not that it has to be false, but I'd like to hear from someone who's not being paid.
It is so profitable to do vaccines according to the CDC schedule. I used to make over $300,000 a year, and I wasn't even following the CDC schedule. I was following about half of that I had created a vaccine-friendly plan. So, I mean, the amount of money is obscene. You don't make a decision to tell the truth when it's going to cost you your livelihood, which it cost me my livelihood. I had 1 year negative income. I had another year, 13,000. And basically my practice value was going to zero. So I needed to sell it to save it. You don't do this for the money. I mean, you didn't go stand on the Capitals to make money. That was to say, wake up, America, something is going on here.
So Kimberly, I'm so glad from the bottom of my heart and just for everybody listening that you acknowledge and you recognize that GoldCare is an answer, because really the number one question on people's minds right now listening is, oh my God, I've got to go fire my doctor. Like they didn't tell me any of these things. And then what do? And we're here because one of the reasons we built GoldCare was also to have employment opportunities for righteous doctors. There are doctors that have walked away from the system. I know them, and a lot of them have come to GoldCare, and it is quite difficult to find pediatricians. However, there's plenty of doctors that have that pediatric knowledge. or nurse practitioners or PAs that have that pediatric knowledge. So I want, Kimberly, I don't want people to be like overwhelmed with, what to do, like I want them to feel empowered, not negative. So I feel like you'd be very helpful in that.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, Dr. Thomas, I'm just kind of blown away so I knew that the private practices were going away and I can't find them anymore. But this is such a whole new light on the reason why you're being bribed and blackmailed, and you can't survive if you don't buy into the pharmaceutical behemoth. And I have to say, I have been telling people that, that pharmaceutical companies aren't all bad. There's good things that they do. And now I'm like, that just overshadows it all. So I'm like, I don't care what good they do. I'm really mad at them right now. But I'm going to tell you what you can do. And this is something that I told people during COVID, when they were, mandating that you masked, or the whole, you have to do this on the plane or whatever. If you had to live in society, you had to do what they told you to do. And what I was telling everybody then was just say no. Just say no. If every single doctor and nurse walks out of a hospital, you don't think that's going to turn them around right away? If every single patient walks out of a medical practice, you don't think they're going to be like, wait, we want you back? I mean, there has to be and it's tough. It's hard to do when you gather everybody together, because they're intimidating you. They're making you sign these documents saying, I'm refusing a shot. Now the AAP is coming out with the CDC and conglomerate all coming. We already know they're bad eggs, but most moms don't know this. So the education is critical. But the second part is action. There's nothing more important than your child. And if you can go and tell other moms share this podcast, let them know this is what's happening. And I'm telling you because I care about you, because I know that you care about your kids, and then just start a movement. Because if every airline stewardess, airline flight attendant, if every pilot had walked off the job, who's going to fly the planes?
Yeah.
We all just need to say no.
And I really, really want to emphasize and empower all the parents listening. You do not live in the nation of China. You live in America. You actually can say no. Like, that's what we're fighting for, because you can say no. Now, there's two big choke points in our society. One is the hospital and one is the school system. Those are the choke points. I've been saying it for 4 to 5 years now. But you can actually exit the school system. My kids went to public school. I went to public school. But there's no way I'm going to comply. There's many reasons not to go to government schools. I don't call them public schools anymore. They're government schools. There's many, many reasons not to go. But if you're living in a state that is requiring, certain very draconian things where they're taking away your parental rights, you just got to check out of that system. Now, you need to be educated on this, or if you'd like to be more educated on this, we can help you at GoldCare, but I also mostly want to empower you. Dr. Thomas, go ahead. Yes. Yeah,
I want to speak to that. I just yesterday had a guy working on a deck for me, and, he's about probably late 30s. He's got a 7-8-year-old kid. And he goes, I had to have my kid at home for 2 weeks because the school sent me a letter and he was missing a shot. I said, you live in Oregon, right? He says, yes. I said, well, you have exemption options in Oregon. So I want the listeners to understand, if you are in the situation where your kid's in public school, and even in private school, but especially public school, in 45 of the 50 states, you have either a philosophical or a religious exemption, and it is not hard to do. Just your favorite search engine, put vaccine.
I'm going to talk about that next, Dr. Thomas.
Oh, perfect. And I was going to segue into, so figure out how to get your exemptions, and Dr. Gold's going to explain that. But also realize that you can call your doctor's office and say, do you allow people to pick and choose or not vaccinate if they don't want to? And most will say no. You say, okay, thank you, goodbye. And then you sign up with GoldCare, because people are always going, well, where can I go? Well, here's a solution right here.
Yeah.
Well, and this kind of, it bothers me that we have to talk about religious exemptions or medical exemptions, because we don't need exemptions. We have constitutional protection. And yes, use what you have available to you. But at the same time, I love what you said in the opening. It's the first time I've heard this. I don't know why I've not heard it before, why I've not clicked for me. We talk about parental rights. But in the opening, you said parental authority. We have parental authority and constitutional protection. Our right to teach, nurture, and protect our children is codified in the United States Constitution. It is protected. We have a fundamental and supreme right, responsibility, authority level to protect our children. So while we're doing what we have to do on the exemption level, we need to be fighting on the constitutional level. We need to start going into these schools and saying, I have constitutional protections, body autonomy. You cannot force me or my child to put anything in their body. And they can say, well, then you don't get to come to our school. And say, no, that doesn't work, because the law says if I don't send my child to school, they take my children away and I go to jail. Therefore, you have a legal claim that I can fight against, and we can start suing them for forcing us into a situation where we have no option to get out. You either poison your kids or you don't go to school and then you lose your kids. I mean, there's a no-win situation, which is why we filed our lawsuit, because it exposes this. And we want to get to a point where the court publicly recognizes what already exists: body autonomy. You do not have any authority to force us or our children to put anything inside our body. And COVID was a great opportunity to open the door to that discussion and shine the light on the lies and the deceptions that are being pushed on us through the governments and the entities that are being paid by these large companies to poison our children.
Right. We're going to go to Drew, and then we're going to come right back. We're going to talk about the exemptions, because it is like an issue that everyone's super interested in.
It is.
I just want to say, though, that that's okay. Let's go to Drew first, and I'll pick it up in a minute, because it's very interesting.
Thanks, Dr. Gold. I can't stress the importance enough about this conversation and how important it is for parents to hear and know that they're not alone. You know, I was just looking at the stream numbers. We have over 10,000 people watching this stream right now, which is amazing. But this conversation is just so important, and there's so much valuable information here that people like Kimberly and Dr. Thomas are sharing. And I want more and more people to see this. So please retweet this live stream if you have the chance. If you're watching it and you join GoldCare, you have access to all of our webinars, all of our town halls, like tonight's conversation. You can go to goldcare.com/moms, click the link that's in the title of tonight's live stream. And if you join tonight with the yearly subscription, we'll send you Dr. Thomas's book, Vax Facts, which really is just, it's the Bible on Vax Facts, and it is just an amazing read, and it will do you a ton of good. So please take a look, goldcare.com/moms, and back to you, Dr. Gold.
Yeah. So so people sometimes forget that I'm a lawyer, because I talk a lot about medicine, but it's medical legal. Kimberly, of course you're right. Of course we have body autonomy, but the government has been encroaching and encroaching and encroaching and encroaching. So they're kind of, they've made it very difficult for parents and families. And on the doctor side, doctors are licensed to practice medicine in a particular state. It's essentially a medical cabal, quite frankly. Yes. And so they make certain rules. So Dr. Thomas is right. You can get a religious or philosophical exemption. By the way, it is now 46 states. West Virginia finally got rid of their old thing. It's 46 states. But I disagree a little bit with Dr. Thomas. I don't think it's so easy for people to do. And that's why we have actually set up at GoldCare a vaccine exemption pack that you can purchase. But we like to give value to people. The reason I don't think it's so easy is because there's a couple of reasons. One is some states, not the majority, but some states, like Illinois is one, kind of require you to have a doctor visit sign off, even though it's not medical, which is weird. Okay. You need to know kind of the rules in your state, because a lot of people in your state either don't know the rules or are so ideological they won't honor it. I live in Florida, where you can do this, no problem with it. Essentially the parent signs up, but there are schools that still tell the parents no. So we've finally heard.
And the counties, you've got the counties too. It's like all different government levels have different rules. So while I agree it's simple, but it's only simple. It's simple. It's not easy unless you know the process. And that's what's great about what you provide, Dr. Gold, is because maybe people don't know this, but not only are you a doctor, but you also have a law degree. And so you have the ability. What a blessing. I think God has just really prepared and put you in a position to lead this movement, because you understand both sides of this. And now you can give parents in each state, county, city, school district, whatever it is, you have the ability to say, okay, we're fighting lawsuits on this side, but we're giving you the legal tools that you have to be able to protect your children now. And then I'm out there pushing the constitutional movement. And thank God that we have doctors like Dr. Thomas, who is out there showing the facts that nobody wants to see because they're raising money. But moms want to see it. We want to know the truth. We want to be able to protect our children. So it really is a culmination of all these things. And the only one place you can get it is GoldCare.
Yeah. So I just want to say, so Dr. Thomas, we're going to go back to you with some specific medical questions in a moment, but I just want to make sure everybody understands that each state has specific rules and laws that they have to comply with, and they make it really difficult. You heard about all the financial incentives. You can navigate your way, but in my opinion, my humble opinion, most people need a smart advisor who knows the rules in the state, and also they need the empowerment. We've had a lot of people who are like, well, I tried to do it, and then they get meek, right? Because the white coat or the school vice principal is telling them no, even though the school vice principal is wrong, for example. So we've set it up. It's a vaccine exemption pack, and we offer it in all states except where by law there's just kind of no way to do it. And that's 4 states that we can't do it. It's just too difficult. Dr. Thomas is right. You cannot get a medical exemption as a practical matter. They threaten doctors' livelihoods. They're going to pull a doctor's license. So just forget it. Besides, the right really should belong to you as an individual. It's essentially like the bodily autonomy, but we phrase it as religious or philosophical. But we know the rules. We know the law. If this is your lane, this is the reason we're doing this town hall now, because we know people getting ready for school in a few weeks, and they're like, what do I do? Do I need an exemption? We've got you covered, the vaccine exemption. But before we run out of time, I'd like, Dr. Thomas, for you to just share some smart things that you know. There's 2. One, I think it's short and easy, which is, COVID shots are garbage for kids, and right? Okay. But then the other thing, just a piece of data that people don't know. I just think it's important. Like when a woman is pregnant and she's going to the hospital to deliver, like what issues does she face? Because we might have some pregnant women on this call, and they don't even know the pressure they're going to face. So just share with people.
Sure. Okay. Well, first of all, moms, if you're pregnant or if you're thinking about getting pregnant, you intuitively know that you are carrying a precious cargo. And you don't even eat fish, right? You stop smoking, you check all your medications, but then you follow the CDC's guidelines and do a whole bunch of shots. It used to be they added the Tdap for tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis. I lost a night's sleep just fretting about that because of the amount of aluminum in that shot is going to absolutely damage, perhaps terminate your pregnancy, but damage that unborn child. Then they added the flu shot. Then they've added COVID. Oh my gosh. Genetic engineering bioweapon. Sorry. I mean, it's a shot. It's not a vaccine. It never was. And now they've added RSV. So absolutely say no. But here's the thing. Most moms and dads, families are delivering in hospitals in America. Unfortunately, I wish we could have safe home births. In the hospital, you will sign typically it's an electronic document with pages and pages of fine print. There's no way you have time in that situation. You're going in to deliver. So you sign it. In there, you have given them permission to give the hepatitis B vaccine and the vitamin K shot. Kimberly was talking about the hepatitis B vaccine. It is insanity. It has 250 micrograms of aluminum, and the FDA had a standing document since 2001 not to exceed 3 to 5 micrograms per kilogram parental aluminum. A shot is parental. It's not oral. It's in the muscle or it's in the vein. So you're giving 10 to 15 times the toxic dose. You're giving more than the toxic dose for an adult at birth, and 999 out of 1,000 babies don't need it. You only need a hepatitis B shot and a HBIG if mom herself has hepatitis B and is actively going to transmit it to her baby. So babies don't have sex. They don't share dirty needles. They are at 0 risk. I can sleep like a baby, never worry that I'm going to miss a case. I never have. Almost no one in my practice, nobody in my practice actually has ever had hepatitis B. I also ran an addiction clinic for 10, 15 years. And so I had high-risk moms who were IV drug users, and I only had one of those moms who had hepatitis B. So it's so rare in this country. That is absolute insanity. And you need to go in and never leave your baby out of your sight, period. Because so many times, even though you've made your wishes known, oh, we accidentally gave it. We're sorry. We
I'm so glad that you're bringing this up, because this is one of the things that I wanted to mention, because tons and tons of moms are finding out about this after the fact. And they don't know that this is happening. And they're like, what am I supposed to do about this? I'm like, well, it's done. So don't let it happen the next time around. But this is a critical piece of information that every mother needs to know. They are doing it without your consent because you consented, and you don't know that you're consenting. And you bring a very good point. You're coming in labor. You're not thinking about what you're signing. You just want the baby out. And so please, mamas, please know that when you're signing something, it's going to have information in there that's going to give the doctors, the medical staff authority to do something that you did not give them authority to do. So be aware of that before you go in. And one of the things I've been telling moms is get the information, get the forms that you have to fill out before you go. And look at them. And they some of them have gotten pushback, but for the most part, they've been giving them some, say, hey, I want to make it simple. I want to have everything signed before I go in.
We want to give you this information. We want you to make informed consent decisions. We know, we have the same experience, Dr. Thomas. When you give people this information, they mostly say no, or maybe all say no, but we are not ideological. If you want to say yes, you can say yes, but we really resent that it's kind of being snuck in under false pretenses where you're not even really being informed. That's very interesting. I wonder, do you remember when the Hep B, they started giving it in pregnancy? Like, I'm wondering if I had signed away for my children. It's very interesting. I never thought about that.
It's more recent. It's been within like the last 10 years, I believe. Is that right, Dr. Thomas?
Well, Hep B for newborns, that shift happened around 2000, 2001.
Really?
Well, at least in Oregon, which is very interesting. That's the same time they took thimerosal out of most of the vaccines. Now, you'd call that a coincidence? I don't know. But thimerosal was clearly a problem, causing neurological problems and linked to autism. And finally, they got too much pressure. They just voluntarily took it out of all the vaccines. And simultaneously in the same year, they moved the Hep B from teenagers to newborns. I don't believe in coincidences, but anyway.
Wow.
Hep B is just one of 14 plus vaccines where children now up to age 6 are getting 60 different shots. By age 18, we're almost at 100.
What?
Yeah, we're almost at 100.
Before they're 6 years old, they're getting 60 shots?
By age 6, if you follow the CDC schedule, it's about 60 vaccines now. You have to remember DTaP is 3, DTaP, diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis. MMR is 3, measles, mumps, rubella. So
when I was giving my kids immunizations, MMR was 1 at 18 months.
So I just put up a slide. I don't know if you guys are seeing it. This slide really impressed me. This slide's from Dr. Thomas. I know it's a little bit, numbers and everything, but what he did is he compared the risk of the disease, death from the disease, from the risk to the shot. And it's shocking. Dr. Thomas, you probably know this by heart. If you don't, I'll read it. But I mean, so basically the deaths for diseases for which there are vaccines is about 1 in 200,000. But if you get the vaccines, SIDS deaths within 1 week after vaccine.
Yeah, nobody gives that number, Dr. Gold. That SIDS number, they don't talk about that. It's like a mysterious disease.
Let me tell you why. That's what I wanted to say before the break and I forgot. Okay, this is what I noticed as an ER doctor. So when a patient comes in on an ambulance, the paramedics run through everything. They try to get the history from the family because they know they're coming in an extreme situation, and they try to get the history for us. Never did we get the vaccine history. It was not asked.
You don't
I'm so offended by that. And that is a clue, my friends. That is a clue. Like they're not even tracking the data. So I would be the ER doctor. I'm the one who sees the SIDS patients. And we wouldn't even have the information if they had the shot or not. It wasn't considered a relevant data point.
So look at this. This is the total number of deaths in 2022 from all diseases for which we have vaccines. 370. That's out of 4 million births per year. Okay. SIDS alone. Now there are tons of vaccine causes of death, but SIDS, 78% of SIDS deaths happen within a week of the vaccine. It's quite clear. We are thousands, 2,000 to 3,000 per every year compared to 370. I have other data in the Vax Facts book. And it's all documented for every single vaccine. The risk of death from the vaccine is greater than the risk of death from the disease for which you're vaccinating. So just think about that. Are doctors telling you when you're agreeing to take a vaccine, you're more likely to have your child die by taking this vaccine than from the disease that we're vaccinating you against? No, they don't. And parents, why do we usually succumb to the pressure? Well, we don't want our kids to die. I don't want to lose my kid to a disease that maybe the vaccine could prevent. Well,
and you trust your doctor. You're supposed to trust your doctor, but you can't.
And the doctors are telling you what they've been taught, and they have not been taught correctly, right? It's a tragedy. And so parents, it's on us to learn the facts. Vax Facts, I'll tell you, it's a simple read. And then you go armed with that. And if they don't want to talk to you about the facts, you have to find a new source of where to get your care. Dr. Gold, you have a great place, don't you? GoldCare.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Oh, I was setting you up there.
Listen, guys, I do this. This is a passion of mine. I've got many reasons why we launched GoldCare. Mostly, I'm in favor, like Kimberly, with the constitutional freedoms, our Bill of Rights, and they're being eroded, parental authority is being eroded, all of that. We need strong families to have a strong nation. Kimberly could talk about this all day long. But that's kind of my mission too, except I have this expertise in the medical space. And I'm seeing that the tyranny of our nation is coming through the medical space. And they're taking down the family, and they're taking down parental authority. And they're trying to substitute the state for the parent, which is a classic communist strategy. So that's kind of like the big picture. And you're sitting at home and you're thinking, what does all that political stuff have to do with me? Here it is. They're coming for your kids. And you're sitting there and you're like, I just want to know, like, who can I trust and who can I ask? This is why we built GoldCare. I'm going to be so mad, Kimberly, if all of American people don't come and do this for people to have that access, so that later when they come for the constitutional freedoms, they're not going to be so afraid. And we're gifting this book because I personally found this book irreplaceable. Absolutely irreplaceable. It's like a Bible on this issue. You don't have to read it cover to cover. For example, if you just wanted to know, about your teenage kid, or you just want to know about being pregnant or your toddler, right? You got it all. It's so easy to read. He wrote it with a mom because he wanted to make it like super easy. I can't endorse the book highly enough. I can't endorse GoldCare highly enough, because this is the answer people were asking me for years. We've got information on vaccine exemptions. We have naturopathic doctors who work with you and the medical doctors. We have doctors who know all about children's illnesses who are not woke and are not members of the AAP, which is, I'm sorry, medical mutilation. That's all you have to hear. But I just, obviously you can hear how passionate I am about it, but it's because there's a huge need. There's a huge need. So if we could just, Dr. Thomas, and then we'll have Kimberly close out, just like final words that you might want to say.
So final words, parents, you are the protector. The buck has to stop with you, and you have the power. You do not need to comply. You can say no. You can say no to your pediatrician. You can say no to the vaccines, and you can say no to the school that's trying to kick your kid out, because unless you're in those 4 states, get the packet from Dr. Gold and GoldCare, and you now are empowered with not just the medical information, but hey, you've got an attorney backing you up, and sometimes that helps. Believe it or not, you threaten an attorney, and all of a sudden people will just back away. They don't want to have to deal with it.
By the way, Kimberly, one sec, we've got you completely covered in the vaccine, because we're talking about fighting the school system and all that. But honestly, a lot of times parents really want information. So we also have the medical experts who will really walk you through what's in this shot. A lot of people have problems with the aborted cells. So we know what's in what, and we can explain all that to you if you've got medical questions. So there's the vaccine exemption, but also you might be curious. You might want to do this shot, but not that shot. You might, right? It's individual. It's your situation. It's we want to explain it to you. So I just wanted to say that, because I really didn't emphasize that part too. And Kimberly, back, to close. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Oh, sorry.
Like me.
I wish that I had these resources when I was raising my children. I now have them when I have grandchildren. This is an incredible, incredible resource. And here's the best thing is you have a book that gives you all the facts that you can now take to all of those people that are trying to convince you of things that aren't true. And you have GoldCare that has ongoing educational resources and support system. And you get both for $10 a month, $120 a year right now. So that would be my takeaway, is do it. You want to know what to do. This is something you can do right now. Get educated, be informed, be empowered right here by doing those 2 things.
I want to thank you guys so much, but before you go, back to Drew, and you guys are the bomb.
Thank you, Dr. Gold. Thank you to our great speakers tonight. Dr. Thomas, thank you so much. Kimberly and Dr. Gold, really a wonderful conversation. We know the vaccine topic is hard to navigate, and the pressure from the medical industrial complex creates so much confusion. It's one of the driving forces of why we created GoldCare, so you can make informed medical decisions for yourself and for your loved ones. Our Wellness U education library is full of accurate, uncensored, and woke-free information to help answer your questions. And if you need a doctor who is honest and ethical, GoldCare is the perfect place to find them. We've made it as easy as we possibly can. Just visit goldcare.com/moms or click the link in the title of the stream. Join today, choose a yearly subscription, and we will gift you a copy of Dr. Thomas's must-read book, Vax Facts. Thank you for being with us tonight, and we'll see you at the next Medical Town Hall. Good night.
Do you feel like the healthcare system is failing you? That's because it is, working exactly as intended to prioritize profits, bureaucracy, and big pharma, while leaving you and your family vulnerable when you need care the most. We understand your frustration. You've been asked to trust a system that feels rushed, impersonal, and biased. You deserve better. That's why we created GoldCare. Here, your values matter, your choices matter, and most importantly, you matter. GoldCare is more than a solution. It's a revolution. Trusted by over 10,000 members nationwide, we've built a system that puts your wellness first. With ethical, independent doctors who work for you, not the system, you'll have access to care that's transparent, trustworthy, and aligned with your values. We understand that stepping away from the familiar can feel daunting, but staying in a system that doesn't truly serve you is even harder. That's why GoldCare offers a healthcare alternative designed to work for you. Whether you're ready to step away from the system entirely or prefer to keep your insurance while seeking the transparent care, ethical doctors, and education you deserve, it's time to stop trusting a system that's failed you. Take control of your health with GoldCare. Join today for just $10 a month and become part of the healthcare revolution. GoldCare, built for you, powered by freedom, trusted by thousands.